Welcome back to AstroFic, your dose of fun, relatable astrology content where we apply astrology to fictional characters to find out why they're like that. I'm your host, Celeste V, and this week we are talking about Lenore Dove Baird. I struggle sometimes which last name to use, but she's a Baird, right? Sorry for the very delayed episode. I kind of forgot, and I'm kind of busy. Not gonna lie. There will be another delay of about a week. We're taking a week break because I am graduating college this weekend, May the 10th. I'm recording this Sunday, May 4th, hoping for this to be out Monday or Tuesday, depending on how long it takes to edit. So yeah, this was supposed to be out like Saturday the 3rd, but it wasn't. But just know this is the only episode you're getting, sorry. But I hope you like it because we're talking about Lenore Dove. Let's just get right into it, you know? Sun in Aries. Exalted sun placement. I know that's right. Moon in Aquarius. I don't want to hear it. Moon in Aquarius. I don't want to hear it. We'll talk about it later. Because we're going to start where we always start, in the first house, with her rising sign in Sagittarius. This placement parallels Lucy Gray, who I believe I made a Sagittarius sun. And I can't lie, I almost made Lenore Dove a Sag sun too. Something about the Covey girls is just so Sagittarian to me. I bet there are other astrologers out there who would agree with that. Well, she's obviously not as outspoken and rebellious as Lucy Gray because there is real serious threat of consequences and harm if she were outspoken. I mean, she's still very outspoken. Lenore Dove is just as dogmatic about her belief that what Panem is doing is wrong, though. They both harbor this very strong belief that what they are experiencing is an injustice, and they're right. It's not just a belief, they're right. I wanted to give her more Sagittarius placements, but I fear I did not do that. I just feel like the rising is such a strong setup, you know, when you have your rising sign in a sign that you don't have any other planets in, it's kind of carrying a lot, I feel like, because it's setting up your whole chart, but it doesn't have any planetary support. But I think overall it's still very powerful and it works very well. Her second house would be in Capricorn, and you know damn well I did not give our girl any significant Capricorn placements. All she has here is Neptune, and this is because Neptune is the planet of imagination and delusion, right? In the second house, which is like foundational values and structure and stability, it's in Capricorn, yeah. But to me, with Neptune, it's like envisioning a different structure of life. You know what I mean? Like, she sees the structure of the society she currently lives in, and she can envision the structure of a different society that is more fair and equitable that she could have also been living in right now. She can clearly see the through line of Panem traditions and history and how it led to this point, as well as how fragile it is, even if all she knows is the propaganda she's been fed. It's like an innate, intuitive kind of belief and knowing. She doesn't know why she knows it, she just knows. I also think that her imagination is like structured and grounded in reality, which is why she's able to do all of these things so easily. But it's also why the things that take creativity and imagination are almost always going against the authority. You know, the flint striker she has made for Haymitch, all of her quote-unquote posters, her graffiti around 12, all of that kind of stuff, I think, falls under this umbrella. So that's the second house. Her third house is in Aquarius. So now we'll talk about her Aquarius moon. Now we'll talk about it. Tally, whatever, man. Yeah, I gave her an Aquarius moon. Yeah, I have an Aquarius moon. I don't care what you think. Lenore Dove doesn't seem like the kind to be super open about her emotions, and probably recognizes the benefit that intellectualizing them can have for her in the precarious position she holds as a District 12 citizen and a Baird Covey girl. The threat is real. I 110,000% believe she knew about Lucy Gray and just could not risk telling anybody about it, just because of the immense danger and threat it posed, because Snow is president by the time Lenore Dove is 16. That's a real threat, you know? And Aquarius moons do tend to hold a lot of important matters to their chest like that. But with it being in the third house, when she starts to talk about her feelings, especially to someone she trusts, like Haymitch, Clark Carmine, or Tam Amber, it's easier to keep her talking and get to the heart of the matter, I think. I think that all of these men, Haymitch, Clark Carmine, and Tam Amber, I think they all have prominent water signs. I don't think I gave PETA a lot of prominent water signs. But I know I gave Finnick a couple, and Haymitch does have them as he is a Cancer sun. And I think that there's something in the Hunger Games series to the men of the rebellion being more water sign coded, while the women of the Hunger Games are more like fire sign and air sign coded. So like the men are more water and earth, and the women are more fire and air. And I don't really know what statement that makes. I just think that's the vibes that I'm getting, and it's an interesting kind of duality that's flipped from what is normally seen in like our modern day present reality. Is like you normally associate men in rebellion with like fire and air signs, and not, well, actually, see, my sociological brain is now working with my astrological brain, and actually this makes perfect sense because it is a subversion of the gender roles in society, because water and earth are the more feminine elements, quote unquote, and are more often associated with female characters in media, whereas fire and air are the quote-unquote more masculine elements and associated with more men in media usually. So I think I don't know if the subversion is coming first from me or Miss Suzanne Collins, but this is what fandom is, you guys. The playing off of the text, creating new ideas. This is what fandom is. This is also what academia is, by the way. This is journalism. Anyways, that's her moon sign. I think she has another placement in Aquarius though. Am I lying? Maybe I'm lying. I guess I'm lying. I guess she only has the Aquarius moon. I stand by that moon placement though. Her fourth house is in Pisces, and she has two placements here. First is Jupiter. The fourth house is the house of home and family and your inner world and your private spaces and, you know, places closed off from the world that are safe and comfortable for you, which is usually where your family is, right? With Jupiter in this house, Jupiter, the planet of expansion and abundance and all things good in life, except for when you have too much of a good thing, is in Pisces, which is its domicile. So this is a really great Jupiter placement. I think this is a great Jupiter placement. And it kind of speaks to the idea that the Covey adopt all who come to them, wayward souls and whatnot. And in spite of everything, Lenore Dove has one of the better home lives of everyone in this book. Haymitch has, you know, a good home life also in terms of the emotional bond that he has with his family. Not everybody has that kind of bond with their family. Like, I don't think that Maisily really has that bond with her parents, although she has it with her sister Marilee. And, you know, a lot of people just straight up don't have families. Wyatt Callow definitely doesn't have a great relationship with his family, you know. But also, Lenore Dove doesn't actually remember the Covey being rounded up the way Lucy Gray did. So she doesn't really need to carry that burden. She doesn't remember. She's like carrying the burden of her ancestors in a way, right? But she doesn't actually have that memory. She didn't experience those things directly. She is carrying the trauma of them in her genes, in her bones. But 4,000 Pisces is like the culmination of their family line. Lenore Dove is the last songbird of the family, and everything after is just a grim imitation. There are no other Bairds. She is the last one. And by imitations, I do mean Burdock and Katniss and Prim. They like culturally have this knowledge, but they aren't carrying, because Burdock dies so young when Katniss is so young, they aren't carrying the actual history anymore, you know? Tam Amber and Clerk Carmine are two of the most loving gay men you could have as your parents ever, and they truly love and care for Lenore Dove like she's their very own daughter, but all the luck in the world couldn't save her in the end. Jupiter could not save her in the end, despite it being her ruling planet, because she also has Pluto in Pisces in the 4th house. Ultimately, Pluto takes everything you've built and breaks it down. While Pluto in Pisces feels like a big to-do, like when Pluto does things, it's very obvious to the natal and everyone around them. In 4th house, I think that might dampen it down a little. So rather than being obvious to everyone around the natal, the natal being Lenore Dove, it might just mean that those closest to her bear witness to the most tragic undoings she experiences. Her family having to be aware and know that she's being kept in prison by the peacekeepers, her family and her community watching her be rebellious and almost get imprisoned and killed at like 13 or 12 because of it. I forget which age. Haymitch holding her as she dies from the gumdrop. It's really tragic. I think the proximity of Jupiter to Pluto unfortunately expands on the tragedy and just makes it almost unbearable. I understand why Haymitch never wanted to talk about her. Her death is really, really sad. Like, at least with Lucy Gray, we can choose to believe that she got away and that grave is empty. But Lenore Dove's is not. On that note, we have still most of her chart to get through. So we're going to move to the 5th house in Aries. She has only 2 placements. Well, not only, but she has 2 placements here. So we've talked about her sun a little bit, touched on it. Exalted sun placement. I know that's right. Sun in Aries in the 5th house. In her 5th house, I feel like she really puts a lot of pride into the things that she creates, even and maybe especially if they're not perfect, because Aries has this thing about being like the first to do something. It's just very excited about the idea, and if the execution isn't perfect, that's not really Aries' main concern. Also with Aries in the 5th house, I think that she's incredibly romantic and creative, which I think that we get from Haymitch's description of her. That man is just head over heels. Well, that boy really, because he's 16 in the book. He is head over heels in love with her. And I think that's absolutely beautiful. And you can really tell by the way that he describes her. Sharing her creativity is how she shows her love, which is a common trait among the Baird Covey women, because she designed the flint striker she gave him. Yeah, she had to outsource the actual production of it, but she was the idea behind it, you know? And it's just, and she knew that it was going to be useful, and to make something useful for Haymitch, she had to have somebody else make it. But it seemed like, I kind of got the impression that if she could have done it herself, she would have, you know. Also with Aries here, it's like her creations have to have a use, like the way Haymitch says it in the books, that things can't just look pretty to her, they've got to be useful also. Like that's kind of her ideal. And I think that this placement, Sun and Aries in the 5th house, just kind of reaffirms that statement, you know. Okay, she has her Mercury in Aries in the 5th house also, very much wanting to make a statement with her art. Also, I think she talks super fast with her Mercury in a fire sign, and I think Haymitch can't quite always keep up with that. Like he says, like maybe she's just too smart for me. But this placement is definitely giving talks a mile a minute. It's also getting easily carried away with thoughts and speech. Like she's forgetting that other people are supposed to be receiving the information and communication from her, and she has to like backtrack. Like she forgets she's having a conversation. She's just like gets so lost in her thoughts that she just keeps talking and talking and talking. And then it's like, oh, there's somebody who's listening. Do they know what I've been saying? Something about a fire Mercury is also giving like forgetting to impart pertinent information until it's too late or almost too late. And this definitely happens with the gumdrops, because Haymitch just assumes that they're the gumdrops that he bought her, but she's like, no, that's not it. And they're kids, they're teenagers, why would they think of this? But why would the gumdrops have been left there in the meadow for like a month? I don't know, maybe I'm missing something. Like maybe they were, I just don't think that they would leave food. Nobody in the scene would leave food in the meadow just like willy-nilly. You know what I mean? Like Haymitch's brain definitely wasn't working right then. And it is really, really sad. And I understand why he's like, maybe Katniss was just luckier because she had the knowledge and foresight about the poison berries. It's just, there's so many parallels, and I'm losing my mind. I feel like I have nothing new to say in any of these episodes because I feel like I'm talking in circles. Like everything is so interconnected. Everyone is so interconnected. It's crazy, really. So that's her Mercury. That's her 5th house. We're going to move on to the 6th house, where she has Taurus, and Venus in Taurus. Her and Haymitch having a routine down to make sure that they can see each other is so Taurus Venus in the 6th house. A 6th house Venus loves a schedule, and Taurus Venus loves to just hang out and lounge. And Taurus Venus also is very gift giving. Love language is gift giving for them. And Tauruses especially are super into the usefulness of their pretty devices and pretty things. They love making things easier for them so they have more time to hang out and lounge around. And also it's not just useful, but it's something that he could use every single day. A Taurus Venus never wants to leave your head, even if you don't spend a lot of time together. They're gonna get you things that you're gonna use all the fucking time, so you always think about them. I think all of the earth signs are guilty of this, by the way. I think all of the Earth Venus signs will do this. They'll buy you a gift that is useful, that you'll use a lot, so that every time you use it, you'll think of them. Isn't that so fucked up and manipulative? I'm just kidding. I don't mean that. But I think it's funny. She also has her Saturn here in the 6th house in Taurus. I fear she really does love structure. And that's why she can imagine new structures of society. Like, I think it's fun for her. She low-key loves knowing what to expect and when. But she also probably struggles a lot with taking care of herself in favor of taking care of others. And this can ultimately become her forgetting about herself. Her Taurus placements are really emphasizing the idea that she loves beautiful things that have a function, a purpose. And then I put in parentheses, rip Lenore Dove, you would have loved Katniss. Katniss has significant Taurus placements also. Like, she is a Taurus. So it's like really fun to see the way that I made kind of subconsciously made all of these women who are likely related connected to each other through astrology. I really believe in family astrology. I want to do a study on it so badly, because you cannot tell me that me and my grandma being the same rising sign, and my mom and my grandma being the same moon sign, and that moon sign being the same sign as my great grandma's sun sign doesn't mean something, you know? And then me loving people who have, I don't know, man, there's just something about it. There's something there. My Saturn is on my mom's rising sign. I'm strict. I'm strict. There's something happening there generationally that I'd like to study. Anyways, enough about that. Her Taurus would be in the 7th house of Gemini. She doesn't have any placements there. She doesn't have any placements in Cancer in the 8th house. And she doesn't have any placements in Leo 9th house or in the Virgo 10th house. So we're skipping right to the 11th house where she has Libra. And then she'll have some placements in 12th house and Scorpio. And then we'll be done. So she has Mars in Libra. Everything she does is to achieve justice and harmony in the 11th house in her community. It all comes from a place of great care and love and reverence for the people who live around her and circle her life. Libra's close proximity to Virgo and Scorpio helps Libra to understand at least a little bit the importance of keeping things secret / to herself. She doesn't want to blast everything she thinks and feels on TVs across the country, but in not doing so, lost one of her last opportunities to have a goodbye with Haymitch. But because of her standing in her convictions, the universe made things right, and she got to have a more unconventional moment with him on the train and her in the rain, and then later with the phone call. But Mars is in detriment in Libra, so it's clear that her actions alone will never be enough, and there's a greater unifying factor that needs to come into the light, aka the Mockingjay. And also one could argue that it was her actions in the first place that caused Haymitch to be reaped. So that's another like detriment thing, you know, especially in Libra, like your actions caused your lover to be met with tragedy and then eventually your own demise. It's crazy. Oh my God. Shakespeare would have loved this shit, dude. I'm so serious. But I think that this placement is very complex and that there's a lot more to it than I'm probably able to get into. But I love it so much. And we move on to the 12th house where she has 2 placements. So here she has Uranus in Scorpio in the 12th house. I just really love the idea of her having a Scorpio 12th house, first of all. It's really giving that her mind is like a dangerous place for others. In that she knows things that others should not know. You know, she knows things that would get others sent to Siberia. I also think that she might struggle, like this is my own headcanon, that she might struggle with intrusive thoughts because of this placement. Uranus is the random factor planet, and here it's kind of like a pervasive sort of randomness. So much of her life is overtaken by randomness that when things happen, good or bad, she just kind of accepts it, and just does whatever she thinks feels good in the moment. She's really living in her body in that way. But this is ultimately why she didn't think anything of another pack of gumdrops. To her, it was about a random luck, which she is want to experience sometimes, especially with that Jupiter in Pisces as Sag rising. Like there's a lot setting her up to have the random factor be in her favor. But sometimes it's not. And in this case, it really was not. I also gave her Chiron in Scorpio in the 12th house. Her greatest and earliest wound is related to the fact that her existence is some kind of retribution for something larger and grander than herself. For example, her existence is perceived by Snow as a threat or whatever. Another headcanon, but I feel like Clark Carmine and Tam Amber told her about Lucy Gray. That's why she was aware of the fact that her existence is a threat to someone very evil and very powerful. And that's why she's been so secretive about everything in regards to the history of the Bairds and the Covey, because she knows it's integral to her survival, whereas Lucy Gray told Snow everything because she didn't know how his intentions were going to turn out. And it's like keeping this secret is integral to not just her survival, but her culture's survival. Sorry, can't talk apparently. One thing I want to know though is why Clark Carmine and Tam Amber never reached. Maybe they did. Obviously, we don't know everything. But why didn't they try to help Astrid and Katniss and Prim a little bit more? Some things that just don't sit right with me. You know what I mean? Anyways, that is the birth chart of our beloved, tragic, truly star-crossed lover, for real. I love the Baird woman. I love the Covey woman. I think Lenore Dove is an incredible character, and I cannot wait to see the way she's depicted in the movie. Very excited for that performance, you guys. So again, other than this, no new episode this week. This was supposed to air last week. My bad. So no new episode this week because I'm graduating. Yay. The Instagram is live, has been kind of quiet for a minute because I've been busy. Substack, it is May 4th, and I need to do the collective reading for the month, so look out for that. That should hopefully come out this week. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to plug. I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it. So thank you guys for listening. And next episode, I don't remember who the next episode's about, actually. Should I check? Ooh, next episode actually is going to be great. We're hitting up Macy Donner for the next episode. So look forward to that. All right. You've been listening to AstroFic, your favorite astrology podcast hosted by me, Celeste V. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please don't forget to leave a rating and review. If you're one of our new YouTube listeners, please leave a like and a comment. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Love you. Bye.